How's it going, everyone? Welcome to the video. Today I'm going to be looking at cleaning up, hopefully not fixing, and using a RTX 5600. So I got this card from my uncle, who just used it to mine and told me that it stopped working. He thinks that it's dead. So I did lightly clean it up before making the video, and just used it in my rig quickly, and it was working, but the temperatures were getting a bit hot and I noticed that it was very dirty. So in this video just going to be cleaning it up, yeah, making sure it still works right, power delivery is good, all of that, and using it in my main rig, testing some games, and basically seeing if it's still worth it to use a RX 5600 in 2022. It's not a bad card, it's a 4 gig card, and yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so got the RX 500 nice and cleaned up, and yeah, was a pretty interesting process. You'll notice that I actually forgot to screw back on the back plate when I showed it to the camera when I was cleaning, but yeah, I did manage to put that back on afterwards. Got that nice and cleaned up as well, and the whole card was cleaned. You might have noticed a little bit of water droplets inside the heatsink when I was cleaning the card, but yeah, I made sure to dry that off nicely. Left the heatsink in the sun for a day or so, and just got that nice and dry. So you'll see the card itself here. Let me just try and center this nice and clean, looking good. There you go. Backplate is on, everything is nice and clean. Shouldn't have any issues. And yeah, the whole point of the video is to clean this up, get it back into a PC. I'm gonna put this in my main rig, and we're gonna try some games on it. So my main rig has a Ryzen 7 1700 first gen chip in it, which is a decent CPU still. 32 gigs of DDR4, 3200 megahertz RAM, and yeah, we're gonna try this basically last gen 5600 XT 6 gigabyte card, and see how it does. So let's do it. Okay, welcome to the testing, guys. As you can see, I've gotten Doom Eternal ready, and gotten the card into the PC. As you can see in my main PC, I have a vertical mount set up here. I've removed the glass just so that we can get a good reading on the temperatures, and not have any issues that way if I need to do anything with the card or adjust anything. As you can see right now, hopefully you can see those metrics all right there. It's doing like 140 FPS more or less. So this is Doom Eternal on max settings. I think it's called Ultra Nightmare, and we are playing at HD. And yeah, let's see how it goes. Right now it's doing quite well. The GPU is at 45 degrees. It's been running for about an hour. I've just left it idle because I was busy doing other stuff. Memory is at about 60 degrees, using about 6 gigs of RAM for this game. CPU is at like 30 degrees. It seems like we're using 8 gigs of RAM actually. I think that memory might just be the graphics card's memory. I think we're using, almost using capacity, but just under, because this is a 6 gig card. And running at like 140 FPS right now. This is a 144 Hz screen. So yeah, that's pretty much more or less where we would like the resolution to be. And for a kind of recent title, this is running quite well. So let's play a little bit and see how it goes. I haven't actually played this, so might be kind of noobish. This is a really good looking game. Blood Punch. Okay, that's kind of cool. Look at that. That's a lot of gold. So the game seems to be running at like, what's that, 144 right now, and this is in the middle of combat, so actually doing really well. Again, this is maxed out, and yeah, really good looking game. Still seems to be at around 140 FPS right now. It's kind of cool system. But yeah, as you can see, the game runs really well, looks really good, and overall I'm actually kind of impressed. I knew the 5600 XT is a good card. It's a little bit last gen, but I didn't know it was going to perform this well. So I think that's it for Doom. Let's move on to another test, maybe get into a little bit of Far Cry New Dawn or Tomb Raider, something like that. Yeah, let's get into that. And we are back. We are now benchmarking Shadow of the Tomb Raider, I think it's called, the newest Tomb Raider game. And yeah, for this game, also doing it at full HD. Also, again, 144 Hz monitor, so that's kind of the target, if I can put it that way. For this one, I'm not playing. This is just a benchmark, a built-in benchmark, and everything is turned to highest. You know, tessellation on, all of those kinds of things. No Fidelity FX or any of those dynamic resolution tools or anything like that. This is just a base benchmark, trying to see how good the card is going to do, just, you know, without any helpers, just a normal benchmark. And it's doing quite well right now, to be honest. It's you know, the different scenes have different amounts of things going on, different densities of foliage. Characters on screen typically take up a lot of real estate when it comes to memory and even CPU power, because the meshes are so much more complex and dynamic, and also because they are skinned meshes, which are animated meshes, and so it takes a lot more CPU to handle, not necessarily GPU. But the card seems to be doing quite well. It's not really hitting. Okay, for this test, it's doing well. For this scene, it's doing well, but that's because this scene is full of what you would call LODs, which are basically distance foliage assets like trees, and those are easy to run because they just like low detail versions of those things themselves based on camera distance. Sorry, I'm not trying to turn this into a tech lesson or anything like that. I'm just explaining what's going on in these. And so we've dropped about 40 frames almost, but still running at, you know, above 80 FPS, doing really well at HD maximum settings. And yeah, I don't really see any bottlenecks. GPU seems to be almost at capacity. CPU seems to be at about half capacity. So, you know, maybe you could say the GPU is a little bit of a bottleneck there, but I think it's just doing its job because it's not even at 100%. So it's just working well together, to be honest. And that's it for the Tomb Raider benchmark. Let's move on to the Far Cry benchmark. Yeah, just quickly, you can see the details here. Average FPS of 92, which is really good. Alright, let's move on to the Far Cry benchmark. Okay, and we are in the Far Cry New Dawn benchmark. This is a short one. Again, HD, maximum details. You know, just trying to get a feel for what the card can do. It seems to be performing more or less the same that the Tomb Raider one did. Doing quite well, spiking up a little bit, not a lot of detail going on. Looking at the temperatures, obviously the panel is off right now, so it will be a little bit cooler, but not even reaching like 40, and had a little bit of a spike there, but I've noticed it in this benchmark a couple of times. Memory is at 50 degrees, CPU is at 30 degrees, so cooling in this system is working really well. The FPS is doing quite good as well, just not really dropping much below 70-ish. This game seems to be a little bit better optimized for NVIDIA, but this AMD card isn't doing bad. And there you have it. Seems to be at like 73 average, maximum of 110. So this isn't going to quite run at 144, but not doing bad at all. So that minimum FPS there of 10, that's a little bit low, but there was a bit of a spike. If you look at the graph over here, not a spike, what would you call it? Like a, I don't know what you would call it, but you know what I mean, like like a down drop in performance. But yeah, graphics at ultra, resolution at HD, and 73 average. Definitely not bad at all. Let's move on to Red Dead Redemption for a last test. Alright, starting out with the Red Dead Redemption 2 benchmark over here. So this is naturally at HD. Everything has been turned to high. Literally all of the settings that I could turn to high, I turned to high. So this is a reflection of, a good gaming performance. A good gaming option in Red Dead Redemption. And right now it's running at about 70 FPS. I'm expecting this test to not do as well as the other ones, because this game is notoriously difficult to run well. So I'm not, I don't think this is a bad performance. It's not necessarily excellent, but I think it is doing quite well. One thing that I am very impressed by is how cold the GPU seems to stay. So, of course, we cleaned it up and removed it. Cleaned out the heat sinks and everything, and repasted it, which I think is important. But it's not even reaching 50 degrees Celsius, and it's at almost 100% utilization. So it's interesting, how cold it's staying, because 40 degrees is really cold. But it might also just be because it's an open air test to an extent, because there's no side panel on the case. But this is doing quite well. It's really keeping that 60 target alive for this. Maybe just a little bit above that, almost reaching 70 in most tests. And obviously, this is a beautiful game. The camera is a little bit noisy, so I'm not sure how well the quality is going to come through, but it really is a really nice game to look at, and seems to be performing, I would say, admirably. Not excellently, but it's definitely not unplayable. And this is a scene that is very much like it would be when you play, so this is a good reflection on what the card could do, and it's reaching 80 now inside this little shop, which has a lot of detail. Let's see what happens when he goes out. Yeah, it's dropping a little bit, dropped by about 10 FPS there. Temperature is really solid still. The memory is a little bit more hot than the graphics card, but it's not even really that hot at 50, 50-ish. CPU is just keeping that 30 degrees really stable. And so this is just truly a playable experience, if I could put it that way. Not really going to get close to that 144 target, but not going to fall below 60, it seems. So, and this is right in the action. Maybe when we see some explosions, it's going to slow down a little bit. Yeah, we fell below 60 there. But really not looking bad. And again, this is a beautiful game to look at. This part of the benchmark always kills me, like that tree's going to protect him. Lots going on now. Let's see how the explosion does. Didn't really seem to do anything, to be honest. I'm quite surprised by that. And still at 100%, 98, 99% utilization of the graphics card. CPU is right around that well, it says 30% utilization right now, so maybe we do have a little bit of a bottleneck there with the graphics card, but this is these are the parts I have available, so these are the ones that I need to use. But at least this shows the true potential of the graphics card and how well it can actually do in these games. So that was the Red Dead Redemption 2 benchmark. That's it for the benchmarks. Let's uh, let's talk about it. So let's talk about the results, how the card did, and what I expected from it. So the card performed better than what I would have thought. I knew the 5000 series of Radeon cards aren't bad, and I think the 6 gig variant, is it's kind of the sweet spot for performance because it's enough memory to handle textures in most games, and the card performed quite well. I was pleasantly surprised by it. I think if I would have guessed, I would have maybe removed a few frames from the result if you had asked me how it would do before, but it performed admirably. And looking at the card, it's definitely quite a looker. This is let me center this. This is the tough gaming variant, and got the back plate back on, as you can see, nice and clean, everything looking good. So it's a nice card. The question is naturally, is it worth it to buy this card in 2022? And that's a little bit more difficult to answer. It's a definite maybe. Um, it depends on what your budget is. It depends on what your expectations are. Do you need something to play the newest AAA games maxed out at 1440p? Then this isn't going to be for you. You know, this price range isn't going to work, especially considering that you're probably not going to find this card brand new. It's probably going to be out of stock. You might, somewhere might have it left over. Personally, I'm in South Africa, and the stock levels here aren't too bad, and the GPU prices are similar to what they would be in America. So you might find it, but even then, you'd probably be better off buying it secondhand. It's probably going to cost you around $200 to $250, which for that money, what else can you get? You could get for $200 to $250. Maybe you could get something like a 3050. I do think this will outperform that, but you're not going to have the warranties or anything like that. So it really depends on what you want to do. If it were me and it were just for gaming, 1080p, high settings, just a good gaming experience, I would go for it if that's something you're looking for. But if you need more, then you'll probably be looking elsewhere. So I think when it comes down to it, I would recommend the card if you can get it for the right price. I think that's about it for the video. Thank you for watching. If you like the content, please let me know by using the thumbs up or thumbs down button if you don't like it. And please leave a comment with suggestions or advice. I know the quality of the audio and video isn't the best. Right now I don't have the best equipment, so the audio in this video is a little bit all over the place, but yeah, it'll get better as we go. And I think that's a part of it is it's the journey. So thank you for watching. Let me know if you like the content, and I'll see you in the next one.